Hello, you guys. I wanted to chime in today, this evening, little late night talk with the songstress. You know, today I want to really tackle the subject of mental illness. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm an expert, or it's not even that I have a tremendous amount of experience with it, but I feel like all of us have someone in our family or some people in our family that suffers with mental illness, and it goes undiagnosed. And so, me personally, um, I have a son, my oldest son, as a matter of fact, and he, I truly believe, suffers with a mental illness. And I'm not trying to come on here and blow up the spot, or put all my business out here and actually even talk about my son in a negative way. But it's on my mind, it's on my heart, and it's near and dear, and it's close to me. And we have friends and we have family that is going through the same thing. So let me speak about my experience. Let me give you guys a little background. Several years ago, the father of my children, my oldest son and my middle son, was killed. It was a homicide, and my son was 5 at the time, and my other son had just turned 3. And that tragedy ripped through our household like a tornado, to say the least. Their father didn't make it back home the next day. And even though they were very young when it happened, it plays out in their mind as if it happened yesterday, all over again, on a repeat, on a loop, which in my mind creates, and again, I'm not a doctor, but it creates arrested development as well as PTSD. And I like to think I know something about PTSD only because, we didn't have a name for it, but you ever think about, or have you ever experienced getting mad at something that happened to you in the past, hurting about something that happened to you in the past, and you can't let it go? You can't forgive the people that did it to you, and you can't stop thinking about it. And every time you get upset or hurt about anything else, it doesn't matter. The subject can be about all the orange juice gone. But every time you get upset about something, that thing that happened to you in the past, that hurt you in the past, comes back up, and you can't deal with it. You can't stop thinking about it. You're stressed the fuck out. Well, that's what I think is a very large, strong symptom of PTSD. And that happens to me almost on a regular basis, where there's things that it's hard for me to let go, and hard for me to forgive, and hard for me to stop thinking about. So I think to myself, that's an attribute of PTSD. And I try to meditate and align myself and keep myself self-centered so that I can forgive and get past and live my life, so I won't stop. So I will actually stop hurting myself, meaning stop causing my blood pressure to raise, stop causing stress in my body, that hormone of stress, which is a chemical release in your body that really mess with your cells and attacks your cells, and therefore we create high blood pressure, we create heart failure and congestive heart failure and diabetes and cancer and all those things in our body from stressing out. So anyway, why I call it PTSD. That's what my experience with it is personally. And then watching my son go through it over and over again as he replays it in his mind. And so what he does is he drinks to, cover that, to mask that hurt and that pain and that emptiness of not having his biological father, even though I'm married and was able to provide and facilitate an environment where he has a great role model as a man in his life. But it doesn't matter, because when it comes down to it, he wants his dad. And as far as he's concerned, he'll never see him again. He didn't get to grow up with him. He doesn't get to look at him and see himself. He doesn't identify with any man on this earth because it's not his father. And that bothers him. And I wouldn't wish that on any man. And while I'm saying that, I want to say, and for you girls, and I'm not talking about women, but for you girls that are out here trying to keep your child away from their father because you're not getting along, or you don't like him, or you're trying to control him with the fact that you have his child, but you won't allow him to see it, even though men should step up their game and take their ass to court so they can get their rights. And that is a fact. But mothers that use their children to manipulate the fathers of their child just to get a result out of them, shame on you. If you knew what it was like to not have a father for real in your child's life, especially a son. Not saying that the girls and the women don't need their fathers either, but a son really needs to see a man to be a man. And when you take that away from a child, you're taking a piece of them away, and you're making that child suffer. Not you, you're not just a father. You're making that child suffer because the child is thinking, I'm not good enough. Why doesn't he want me? Why did he leave me? And then it plays with their self-esteem, and it trickles into the rest of their life. They're never right. They're never right. And I have this experience firsthand, dealing with my sons and also dealing with my husband that feels a negative way towards his father. It really plays into their security, which they have no security, so it becomes insecure. I believe that's where my son's mental illness stems from. And he keeps acting out really bad, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Why haven't he gone to see someone? Why haven't I checked him into a place, or all of that? Simply because he's grown as hell, and you can't tell him what to do, and you can't force him to do it. Until you're willing to call the authorities and let them handle your child, grown or not, they're still your children, and let them handle your child in a way that you wouldn't want to handle them, and make them do what you think they should be doing about themselves. And at the end of the day, you just want them to feel better so that they can do better. And at the end of the day, they're just trying to feel better, so they're reaching for things to make themselves feel better. But unfortunately, the things that they're reaching for causes more harm. Mental illness is real. And it doesn't skip over black families. So stop thinking that. Stop thinking everybody just need their ass whooped and they'll be straight. Because if that was the answer, as much ass whooping as we did, and as much ass whooping as we got growing up, we would all be straight. But see, that's not the truth. We need a healing. We need to be aligned. We need to be centered. And we need to connect with God. First, we got to realize that God is inside of you and not obscurely floating in the air. God is within you, and if you can subscribe to that, then that's the first step of the journey of getting better. I got on here today because my heart is heavy and wanted to talk about my son, and I'm still not comfortable enough to give you guys details of what's going on, but it's horrendous. But I wanted to say, you guys, be careful how you handle people. Try to be a little more understanding with each other. Try to be more caring with one another, and try to do the right thing by each other. My name is Amira the Songstress. This has been a serious Let's Talk moment. If you have a comment or question, put it down below. And whatever you want to say, let's talk. Let's get into the conversation. Talk to you soon. Mwah.